You wake up with no motivation to get up and do the things that you know you need to do. If you answered yes, then you need to take action to get your life back on track and learn the reasons why you feel like you can't get ahead. So after doing my own research and effectively changing my own habits, I want to share with you some techniques and information that will help you get focused and stop procrastinating. So let's look at the harm that comes from the lack of knowledge of dopamine. So the three harmful effects that I will address that result from the misuse of substances and activities that spike dopamine. So the first harmful effect is that um, continued use of things that bring immediate pleasure result in a lower baseline of dopamine, which means that things that aren't bringing you immediate pleasure aren't interesting anymore. The second harmful effect is that being accustomed to hyperstimulation as a baseline results in a narrowing focus, and therefore long-term goals become impossible. And the third harmful effect is that not being stimulated enough to be motivated to do hard work, one gets stuck in a cycle of not getting things done, feeling bad about it, and then masking the shame with the addiction that got them there in the first place. So let me explain this now with my chart here. So here is the initial baseline of dopamine, and that's starting out in a room just by yourself, say waking up after a good night's sleep. That's your baseline. And then say you check your phone to see what's going on social media. That's a peak of dopamine because you get all this stimulating things that you're interested in. And after you put your phone down, your dopamine will start to fall um, below baseline. So now, after the peak that the social media brings, you will go below your baseline, and it'll take time for you to go back to your baseline, which is where you started. So this knowing this chart is really important for human behavior, psychology, and getting your priorities in check. Okay, so um, if we know that overstimulation leads to the inability to achieve long-term goals in addiction, why is it that people still do these activities unchecked? Well, there are several reasons that society is still stuck in this overconsumption and overstimulation cycle. And the first reason is that we live in a capitalistic society that promotes consumption, and the media portrays imagery that happiness comes from buying products and consuming content, according to David Morley's theories of consumption in media studies. The second reason is that social media is inherently addictive and replaces the need for basic social interactions. So, to quote, it has been shown that the individuals who are in the beginning phase of their addiction, social media addiction, tended to start using social media for reasons such as not being able to find friends, lack of socialization, and a monotony of life. That's according to a qualitative study on the reasons for social media addiction by Mehmet Amin Aksoy. And so this is an example of how the cycle perpetuates itself. And the overstimulation that social media brings is more enticing than actually going outside and talking to real people and making real friends, which is a dangerous aspect of overstimulating things that we partake in. And so the third reason is that social media promotes imagery that is unhealthy for people that are already stuck in a cycle of shame. And according to Mukaddes Jan, their article, Impact of Social Media on Self-Esteem from the European Scientific Journal, stated, increase in social media usage causes the self-esteem of individuals to decrease. 1 hour spent on Facebook daily results in a decrease of 5.574% in the self-esteem score of an individual. And so going back to the chart here, you can now see how it directly correlates with your how you feel about yourself. So here you feel normal about yourself, and while you're on the peak, you are either dissociated or you feel really good about yourself because you are getting a spike in dopamine. And then over time, it'll result in you feeling worse about yourself than when you started having not checked your phone in the first place. And it'll take time to get back to the baseline. And so that's dangerous because while you are below your baseline, you are more motivated to check your phone again and do other hyperstimulating things that will get you back to the peak that you are craving. And so it may seem like conquering your addictions may seem impossible, especially with all the scientific research in favor that it is an uphill battle. However, I'm here to suggest some solutions that can help break the cycle of addiction. So here are 3 ways that you can start to get a hold on your priorities. First way to challenge your habits is to abstain from them for at least 30 days, which seems like a duh, but this is where the term dopamine detox comes from, as you are allowing your brain to readjust to normal levels of stimulation in dopamine production and absorption. And this is only the beginning of your journey, and you need to do other things while you're detoxing. Because if you just think that once you stop the activity, all of a sudden you'll be, achieving your goals left and right, you are mistaken. But at least it allows you to get back to that normal baseline of dopamine. And the second way to challenge your addiction is to do cold showers or full body plunges. And to quote, furthermore, cold exposure enhances the delivery of electrical impulses to the brain and may also result in increased dopamine levels. Together, the combination of increased blood flow, endorphins, dopamine, and increased electrical impulses may have a powerful antidepressive effect, according to Hassan. His article, Hydrotherapy, an efficient and cost-effective treatment for depression, from the International Journal of Community Science and Public Health. And another point on this, I quote, plasma, noradrenaline, and dopamine concentrations were increased by 530% for 2 but up to 8 hours, according to human psychological responses to immersion into water of different temperatures from the. That's a staggering amount, 530%. Nicotine is a 200% increase, and cocaine is 10 times. So it's somewhere in the middle of those two. And so the third way to challenge your addiction is a combination of exercise and healthy eating supplements. And according to G.M. Petzinger, exercise leads to neuroplasticity, which is essentially allowing your brain to be in a state of being soft so you can change the physical makeup of your brain. So if you learn something new, it also corresponds with your brain changing physically. And while doing exercise, you also need to be eating healthy. So it goes hand in hand. So yeah, these 3 new habits that you could start would be some of the building blocks that allow you to break some of the habits that you might be stuck doing and get a handle on your time. And so in conclusion, this is an extremely basic version of why being mindful of your dopamine levels and stimulus intake is vitally important. I highly suggest you do your own research and figure out what techniques work for you and help you live a happier, healthy life. But yeah, this is all just reasons that one needs to be more mindful of the activities they're doing, why it's important to detox once in a while.